Studies show that organizations which invest the most in employee experience are then more likely to be rated the best places to work, lead on innovation, and achieve great customer satisfaction. But what is this employee experience? Is it just a new fancy way of describing employee engagement, or are we talking about something much deeper? Welcome to Talking HR Trends with Natal and Tom. I'm Natal Dank.
I'm Tom Haak.
And we explore the latest hot topics and business issues impacting the people side of organizations. Stick around to the end for our practical top tip. And if you find this discussion valuable, please subscribe. So, Tom, delivering great customer experience almost seems synonymous with modern business now. And so maybe it's not surprising that this focus on the customer and everything that comes with it, such as data analysis, design thinking, and marketing, are starting to influence what we're doing in the workplace. And in particular, this new focus on the employee journey and the experience that people have at work. So I'd really like to explore this further with you, but I think probably the best place to start is how do we define employee experience?
I don't want to pose myself as a super specialist in this area. So I learned a lot from, for example, from Jacob Morgan. For me, I always go back to the Jacob Morgan book on the employee experience as a starting point. So that's tip number one.
Okay,
Read
yeah.
that book. Yeah. For me, the definition is around you have people connected to an organization. Those can be employees, but also candidates and other people. So employee maybe is already a little bit too narrow, but there are
Yeah.
people connected to the organization, and those people have expectations, those people have wishes, those people have needs. On the other side, you have an organization that wants to get things done. They organize the work in a certain
Yes.
way. Hopefully they do that in a way that they take the wishes, needs, also the capabilities of people into account.
Hmm.
And in the end, the result of that is the employee experience. How
Yeah.
do the people experience that?
Get the
And
job done. Yeah, I
yeah, get the
suppose.
job
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
in a way. So it there is an element of two parties, you could say,
Yeah. True. Yeah.
people, employees, and organization.
Yeah.
And there is an element of design.
I saw a really nice actual definition that linked a lot to that design element, and that if we can make the workplace less complex and we can help people get the
Yeah,
job done and that they enjoy it and that they have a good experience getting the job done, then that's sort of the secret,
yeah,
spot, isn't
yeah,
it? And in many ways, it equals productivity. You're going to get great productivity if you
absolutely.
have this experience. Yeah.
And what I learned from Morgan as well is we talk about different elements. There's the physical environment we can
Hmm.
design. You could do workplace. We have talked about that before.
Yeah.
There is the technical environment. What
Yes.
are the tools they need to get the work done? And there's the cultural environment,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
probably the biggest chunk.
Yes.
How do people interact with each other? How's the atmosphere, etc., etc.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
physical, technical, culture, and I think
Okay.
that's also helpful to distinguish those three
Yeah. No,
elements.
definitely. Definitely. And what I find quite interesting and like to go to next is this idea that you have sort of a journey. And so we talked
Yeah,
about the employee life cycle for a long time in
yeah,
HR, but now because we're feeding off, I suppose, the lessons learnt in the customer space, we're thinking more about these touch points, these key touch
yeah.
points. And in many ways, we call them moments that matter. So these moments where if we get them right, we can truly engage people and really connect them with our brand and our purpose. Can you talk us through these moments that matter? And in particular, how can HR teams and leaders use them strategically to engage their people?
So one element I mentioned it already is you have people with expectations, need, wishes,
Yeah.
capabilities.
Yeah.
They are not the same. So we
No.
the first, yeah, but that's so it's not about one journey, or so the starting point is okay. Let's try to find out what are those needs, wishes, expectations of people. That's the
Yes.
first point. Yeah. But you see many organizations, okay, we'll design a journey. But then the most used metaphor of those journeys is a highway or a mountain.
Yeah. Okay.
Mountains
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
so it's not one journey, it's different journeys.
Definitely. Yeah.
Then if you look at the journey, there are, as you say, moments that matter.
Hmm.
Also, there are moments that matter that are relevant for everybody, all the
Hmm.
groups in the
Definitely. Yeah.
organization. But there are also moments that matter that are important for some people and totally not important for other people.
True. Yeah.
But so probably the best way is to start with moments that matter that are relevant for everybody, and we there
And we know some of them, don't we?
and we
Yeah.
know some of them. For
Yeah.
example,
Exactly.
and some of them are really a moment, but some of them are more or less continuous. The interaction between you and your boss, for example,
Hmm.
which is an important element in the journey. Well, it's
Yeah.
yeah, of course, that is a lot of moments.
Yeah. Starting a new job, I think, is an
Yeah.
interesting one. Either at starting the with the company at the start, or then moving into a new role while you're
Yeah.
with the company.
In my mind, I have a kind of cube. You have
Yeah.
the different wishes, needs,
Yeah.
expectations of people. You have the moments that matter. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's for the moment focus on the moments that matter that are relevant for everybody. And then you can say some of those moments are easy to change and some
Hmm.
of them are difficult. That's useful to have that in mind because, yeah, you can say, well, this is an important moment that matter. For example, our office building,
Yes.
but that's not so easy to change.
Well, you got to prioritize, don't we? We've talked about this a lot. So you got to prioritize, and you've got to understand if there's any problems to solve for people, because maybe they're not giving their best work because they can't. So
Yeah.
we actually need to fix the problems as well as going after these key moments that matter.
And that requires analytics. If you measure how do people experience day one on the job and
Hmm.
everybody is super happy, well, okay,
That's
you
okay.
can
Yeah.
go, that's okay.
Go somewhere else. Exactly.
Yeah, generally it's not that case. The first day we mentioned, but that's relatively easy to change. And
Yeah.
generally, it's not a highlight in the career, in the journey of
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Because it's always a little bit sloppy. It's never
I
really
know. I
well
know.
designed, especially in these days of remote working. It becomes worse. It's an important moment for almost all the people and something that is relatively easy to improve.
Exactly. And it's a good example of this concept of the experience where you're thinking, feeling, and doing all at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And, it's your first day, you're just immersed in what that is all about. So if we get that right, we can really engage people.
Can I give one more
Yeah,
example?
sure.
I talked to people in a call center, and there was a high turnover. And
Okay. Yeah.
I interviewed some people who left, and I said, "Why
Hmm.
did you leave?" And we decided a little bit to look for those moments that matter. This woman said, "Well, business was going down. We were in a kind of crisis situation, so we
Hmm.
were wondering what would happen to our job." And
Yeah.
what she saw was the management team was in their meeting room the whole day talking
Yeah.
to each other,
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not talking to the employees.
Yeah.
And she said,
Yeah.
when we were there concerned about our job, they didn't even take 1 minute to inform us what was going on. And then
Yes.
I was so fed up, I quit,
Yeah.
she said. This is an important moment, and I'm sure the management team did not even realize it. They said, we are solving the crisis.
But I think you're not going to discover that unless you do empathy work. So you went and interviewed them, you went and explored the experience that they were going through. I think you've got to go deep here to truly understand, because you're not going to just get that from processes, are you? And ways of working. You actually need to understand the experience that people are going through to find that moment that matters.
It's
No,
not,
yeah.
okay, you want an experience? We'll design the experience. No, it's an element, it's integral. So in a sense, the experience is everything. You could also say
Yes.
it's
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
it's not doing one thing. It's looking at the whole journey,
Exactly. It's very
conscious
interconnected.
design.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah.
it's not a quick fix.
Excellent. Thank you for your time today, Tom. It's always great to talk to you. And we can't talk about employee experience without sharing our favorite tool. It's called Experience Mapping, and it's so easy to use. And it helps you discover moments that matter. Get some post it notes or your favorite collaboration online tool and map out the process or the journey. And just have a post it note or a sticky note per step in that process or journey. Then get a persona or a user and take them through that and look at what are they doing, thinking, and feeling. And it is so insightful. You can go and find these moments that really make or break people's careers, engage them with your brand and your purpose, or lose them forever. So go and do it. You'll have a lot of fun and it's really insightful. This is Talking HR Trends with Natal and Tom. Please subscribe if you found this valuable. Thank you.